Hello, my name is Jason JROCK Houston, and you're listening to Chaotic Riffs Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.chaoticriffs.com. And our special guest tonight is lead singer Chase Engel from Engel And The Night Shift. Welcome to the show tonight, Chase.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Now, I got to tell you, typically we feature hard rock and metal artists, but I also like to, from time to time, interview people that I think got something special to say. And I'll tell you, when your publicist Chip reached out to me, and I went on your Facebook page and I checked out some of the videos and the music, I was very impressed. And there's a description on the page that kind of says something to the effect that basically the band is kind of making people rethink what it means to go to a live rock show. And I've always been into bands, that are very theatrical. I got to tell you, just watching the video for your single "Sorry" and "Lost," I was very impressed, because that's I kind of describe it, look at the video, it's kind of like Saturday Night Fever, kind of rocked up, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, nobody really knows how to describe it.
And that's the cool thing about it. That's a cool.
Yeah, it's never really been done in that way. I mean, bands have, acts have danced and stuff before.
Yeah.
And rock bands have done a little bit.
Even
rock bands gone full out with it.
Even looking at your videos, I would say they're no doubt choreographed, but at the same time, they're very fitting and entertaining. I mean, it's more than just you guys in jeans and t-shirts, strumming your guitars. It's very entertaining.
Yeah, and it's and we're not all just about the choreography too.
No, but
our favorite bands didn't do that, so we rock as well. It's fun. People seem to enjoy it. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I've always been a believer that like when I go to see a band play, I like to be entertained. I always love seeing bands, especially like I may be a little older than you, but for example, like Deep Purple and Kiss. I mean, even Motley Crue. They're all. Back in the day, they had their makeup and theatrics, and even they're coming back and just so over the top. And it was more than just going to see the bands, play. Because if I just want to listen to the record, I'll stay home and just put the record on.
It's funny you say that, because we kind of consider ourselves to be a modern day Kiss. And not that we sound like them or really even look like them, but their philosophy was, at least Gene Simmons said his was, to bring the rock show that they never seen and that they always wanted to see.
Yeah.
And we're trying to do the same thing. It doesn't mean that we're putting makeup on or anything, or they were shooting flames, but we're doing it our own way, and that's the same philosophy.
And that's the cool thing about, like, when I watch your videos is I can see that's, you make a very good point when you say that people probably do have a lot of trouble kind of pigeonholing you, because for example, I listened to the songs Lost and Sorry, and then there's another one, I think, Get It On, which was a little bit of a slower song. So you guys definitely have something for everybody.
Yeah, we'd like to change it up a bit. I mean, our sound isn't, as well as our show, our sound is kind of tough to pin down as well. We don't really sound quite like anybody else. We have a little bit different of a sound. Some people say 80s, some people say 70s.
Yeah.
We don't really go for anything. We've never tried to put like, let's sound like this, but it just kind of happens to be, we're not really following any pattern, and it's tough to pinpoint. People ask about influences. I'm like, well, I'm influenced by a million people, but we don't necessarily write like, let's write like a Def Leppard song or a Tesla song. They are what they are. They come out the way that they do. So
I mean, it's very odd you say that, because like another legendary band that's kind of like that is which you kind of remind me somewhat of, is Queen. And if you just listen to any of those Queen songs, I think that's why Queen is able to still go on tour with Adam Lambert, because as great of a frontman as Freddie Mercury is, those songs just those songs to many people are like became the soundtrack to their life. And I don't care how great of a band you think you are, if you don't really have guys in the band that can write songs, if you don't really have the songs, you're not going to go too far.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I know they were touring wild with Paul Rodgers too.
Yeah.
Which seems kind of an odd combo. I mean, I like Bad Company and Free and stuff, but that was kind of a funny combo back in the day. But I think Adam Lambert's a good fit for those guys.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because
they're still out doing it.
It's kind of funny because I am a Paul Rodgers fan, and I kind of checked out what they were doing with him, but for whatever reason, it just wasn't working. And they're much more successful with Adam Lambert. I think that's just because maybe Adam Lambert leans a lot more towards Freddie Mercury.
Oh, his style, absolutely. His style is right up their alley. Very theatrical singer, that very operatic type. So, you know, and some of those, like with Paul Rodgers, I mean, obviously, Paul is great, and there's been bands that I never seen him with them, so I can't comment on it. But I've heard that it wasn't the best fit, and I know that bands have tried to force that before. You know, try to bring somebody in. I knew that Van Halen had talked to before they got Sammy Hagar. They talked to like 50 different singers, and I even heard that he was trying to. They were trying to recruit Daryl Hall.
Wow.
I think to be the lead singer or something. Yeah. He's like, I don't know if that's gonna work, man. But yeah, it's funny how bands will do that. They'll try to they get, you know, they'll try to push anything out there. But
yeah, and I gotta say again, just based on those 3 songs I've heard by your band, I could definitely say, you know, the songwriting is there. So talk a little bit about that, because obviously you're the front man, and I'm assuming the principal songwriter. So like, going back a little in time, like, do you remember how old you were when you first started writing songs?
I would say probably about 14 or 15. I mean, I don't know how good they were, but just was interested in it. It's kind of started doing it. I've always been pretty creative. Yeah. So it came fairly naturally. I think I liked writing like comedy songs and like comedy raps, if that even makes sense. Oh yeah. Just like fun stuff. I kind of started with that, you know, and that just kind of translates a little bit. I mean, I still do that a little bit here and there, but you know, it seemed to come fairly natural to me. I mean, not that I'm the greatest songwriter or anything, but yeah, just about 14 or 15 started doing that, started incorporating. It's about when I started playing live as well. So started incorporating them into the shows, and then it developed since then. Well,
it's like with anything, you know, the more you do it, the better you get it. And I gotta say, you really got the knack based on those 3 songs I've heard. And I'll tell you, it's kind of funny because you may not be from that time, but the stuff I've heard from you so far, it does kind of have a little of a 70s, 80s kind of feel vibe to it. And it's kind of interesting. The guy didn't kind of come from that era, but you definitely got that sound going.
Well, that's the music that I like. That's the music that I grew up with. That's the music that my parents liked, so it's just kind of naturally what I listen to. But I like a lot of different styles of music. Obviously, we are a rock band, so I tend to gravitate a bit more towards that rock style of writing. But, and I've never, you know, people say 70s and 80s, which I like. I don't ever, you know, some people think they're going to, like, insult me, but I'm like, no, I don't mind it at all. I think that old school rock is making a resurgence for sure. I think you're going to, in the next couple of years, really see bands come around that have that older sound they already have, and I think hopefully we can capitalize on that.
And the thing with that is too, a lot of those bands, like people will tell you, like back in the early '90s when grunge started becoming big and everything, everybody was saying back then, oh, rock is dead, rock is, you know, it's never going to come back or anything. It never really totally went away because people that like those bands, they're really hardcore fans, and they always have a love for that music. So there's always a place for it, I feel.
I think so too. I hope so.
Yeah.
Anyways, I hope so. But and that's why it has to keep evolving somehow.
Yeah.
And that's just what we're trying to do. Just evolve it just a little bit. I like the dancier side of rock and roll.
Yeah.
I mean, I like all types of rock.
Yeah.
But I like that dancier side, the more poppy, Van Halen-y.
Yeah.
Def Leppard-y type rock and roll. So we tend to gravitate towards that a bit as well. But, you know, we're trying to evolve a little bit with it. We're trying to, who knows, maybe we'll be the first, you know, be the next ones to break through, to be different. I hope. We'll see what happens.
I mean, you're on a good path. I mean, who knows? And like I said, that's the thing that really impressed me when I went on your site. I was checking out some of the songs and that. The fact that a lot of times, like you say, when you're listening to a band for the first time, you're trying to think, you know, what does this sound like, or who do these guys sound like? And I can honestly say I had trouble kind of I said, okay, they got a little bit of a rock edge, a little bit of, you know, there's a little something there for everybody, but I can't definitely say that you guys are trying to clone anybody or copycats. You really do have a unique kind of thing going for yourself, and I think that's working for you.
It's nice because it happened, like I said before, it just happened naturally. We don't try to just... just the way that they come out, which is cool.
Yeah, and I definitely do see the Def Leppard comparison, and I'll tell you why, because if you go back to like the early Def Leppard stuff, like especially those first two albums,
Down Through the Night, High and Dry.
Yeah, people almost say they were almost a full blown metal band, whereas in later years and even today they're more of a kind of pop rock. They got kind of a pop rock radio friendly thing going for themselves. But back in the days, they were, and Def Leppard even to this day, I'd say they're a little bit of everything.
Well, that's what I like bands like that. Are really another band, even that I kind of, like I say, pattern ourselves after, but a little bit is Aerosmith. Aerosmith
definitely.
One true bands where they really did it all. They had almost metal songs, they had pop rock songs, they had
rap. I mean, they were the first like rap and rock act, even before Anthrax and Public Enemy.
Yes.
Yeah. So. They're one band that definitely has been all over the place, and I dig that about them. And that's why I think those bands are they're still out there doing it, and you got to love that about them. Now, you guys are originally from Michigan, is that correct?
Yeah. Yep. Saginaw, Michigan.
Have you relocated out here to LA, or are you just kind of hanging out here, doing your recording and that?
No, we went to so Brian Wheat of Tesla is our manager / producer / record label owner. He has a studio in Sacramento where they're from.
Yeah.
So we spent quite a bit of time out there doing this EP that we just released with them, with J Street Entertainment. It was produced by Brian.
Wow.
We were out there for a couple months at least, but no, we still. I'm here right now in Hemlock, Michigan. So no, we're still here. We're going to be hitting the road here soon.
With Buck Cherry, I see. How cool is that?
Yeah. Next week. Next week we hit the road with Buck Cherry, and then hopefully may do some shows with Tesla. We're hoping, possibly.
Makes sense. Yeah. That's going to be my next question. Now with Buck Cherry, but what a cool band to open for, because I could definitely see you guys kind of would fit on a bill with them, and that's the other thing. A band like Chase Engel And The Night Shift. You guys, I could see you guys opening from everybody from like you're saying Buck Cherry and Tesla to even like a band like the Scorpions or Def Leppard or whoever.
See, and the issue with that is that it goes both ways. Since we are a bit, I feel the same way. I feel like we could open for. I feel like we could open for a country act and entertain people. I truly do, or even a rap act. I really do. But the problem is we are having a bit of a tough time getting out a little bit. I don't think people quite know how to take us yet, because our live show is a little bit different. It's a little bit heavier. So we're kind of falling in between a little bit, trying to get on some of these tour dates with different bands. Luckily, Buck Cherry and their management said, absolutely, come on with us to do some shows. But we have found a bit of a gray area there that people don't quite we don't know if it's. I think they see the video and they think, they don't know if it's going to be the best fit. But I think once we break into the scene, we'll be all right. But I think so too. I think we can play with anyone.
That's it right there. And I'll tell you, like just watching the videos, to me, like I said, immediately because of the costume, I kind of had before I even like heard a lick of music. I kind of one image, but then once the music kicked in and everything, I saw the way you guys were dancing, rocking up throughout the video. I'm like, yeah, this would be an entertaining live show. I could definitely see, because that's the thing, the cool thing I think about, very much like, well, you don't have a makeup thing going like Kiss, like you said. There's a very theatrical part of what you guys do. You're very image conscious. So, but you have much more than just the look going, if you know what I mean. So you got the entertainment factor of the image, and the music factor. You got a little bit of everything for the fans. And I think once people start hearing the name, okay, that's who this band is. Okay, that's who we're talking about. Yeah, I seen them on the Facebook, or I seen them. My friend told me that they went to the show and how cool it was. See, I think that's part of the thing. You just kind of have an identity crisis. You're just kind of getting out there. A lot of people haven't heard of you yet.
Yeah, I think so too. And then obviously, like you said, when people see us with suits and stuff on, it can be, especially for rock bands, because that is our closest genre, I guess you would say. We're a modern rock band. Yeah. Some of them, they're maybe a bit hesitant right now. They don't know how it'll fit, but I think once people start to see our live show and see that we're a bit heavier live. I hate to say use that term, like bit heavier.
No, I mean, I definitely had the same. I definitely had the same feel. Like I said when I was just checking out the videos, I like you know, just the costumes alone, like kind of. I thought this is interesting. I love the look to begin with, and then when I hear the music, and like I said, music kind of rocks it, you know, picks up and stuff, and I watch the whole video. It's like, yeah, I could definitely get into this. And in fact, after watching the three videos, I definitely had the feeling, you know, I want to hear more of this band. You know, I can honestly tell you, Chase, that's my main complaint right now is I want more than just these 3 songs. But I guess that's what you're working towards. So I understand you guys are working towards an EP, or is it a full length? Or
well, we just released in October 6-song EP or 5-song EP.
Okay.
They are on YouTube actually throughout. We have two music videos. Sorry and Lost.
Yeah,
Sorry was our first single, but there actually are other videos that came up through a topic.
Yeah,
just, you know, they make like topic videos. Like we didn't put them up, but they are actual. You can hear all the songs on YouTube, or if you do want to hear more, the iTunes, Amazon, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I did see like a lyric video or something for, I think the song was "Get It On" or something to that effect.
Let's Get It On, the Marvin Gaye cover. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's what that. How cool! Now, see, that's a cool song for a band like you guys to cover because again, even after watching the videos and listening to the music, people might not necessarily think of a band like you guys doing a Marvin Gaye cover. So talk a little bit about that because I think that's a cool choice of a song to cover for you guys.
Yeah, I grew up with that song. I grew up with a lot of the old Motown type tunes. My dad was way into that stuff. Yeah. Kind of that, you know, soul type Motowny, and I still love that stuff to this day. I played that song acoustic for a long time, and then we started doing it in the band. And when we went out to Sacramento, we had no intentions of doing that song at all. We were going to do all originals, and towards the end of the tracking process for the album, just for whatever reason, Brian asked, man, you guys want to do a cover? And we kind of bounced around some ideas. I didn't even mention that one because I didn't know how he was going to take it.
Yeah.
And I think he's seen probably the same video that you've seen. He only watched maybe 20 seconds of it and said, this will work. Let's do it. So, you know, but we wanted to change it. We don't just want to do it the way that they did it. I like to stay true to that because I like that, but I like to make it a little more rock, change it up a bit. But that song is on the EP as well.
Yeah, and I got a chance to see that, you know, just today before you called it. And I tell you, I've definitely heard the original Marvin Gaye song, but I got to tell you, Chase, you did such a good job on it because, like you're saying, I almost thought, you know, I wasn't totally listening to the lyrics all the way, but it almost seemed like, you know, original song by you guys. That's how good it was.
You know, and I think that's what a true cover should be is you know, how much the original, but it's, you know, should be different in some way at least. I don't know, maybe that's what I feel, even though a lot of some covers stay fairly true to the original, which I like as well. Depends. I mean, one of my favorite bands, Van Halen. I mean, they were also like the world's best cover band as well. They did so many awesome covers. And Tesla as well. So many covers that were all great. And I think I've heard, I think it was Paul McCartney and Bruce Springsteen, who, I mean, they could play 8 hours of a live show with all their hits, but they still do covers live because they say, you know, we just like playing other people's songs so much. These are our favorite songs. We want to play them too. So I very much enjoy doing covers.
I'll tell you a Tesla-related story. Now, a number of years ago, I had a chance to interview the original guitar player, Tommy Skeoch, and he was telling me, at the time he was out of the band already, but he was talking about, you know, back when they had a huge hit with that song, Science. He was telling me, he says, you know, the funny thing is, he says, a lot of people got to know that song Science because of the Tesla version, and he says the funny thing is Tesla had a bigger hit with that song than the original artist.
Than the 5-man electric band. Yeah, I didn't know that was a cover for years. I did.
Yeah.
And I think I wouldn't say a lot of covers that way, but there are quite a few. Like even Alien Ant Farm's cover of Smooth Criminal. I had no idea that was a Michael Jackson song. When I love Michael Jackson, but when that song first came out, I was probably 8 or 9. I had no idea for years that was a cover. But there's a ton of songs out there
Yeah, even like
they get no idea are covers.
Even those two songs, Quiet Right did, "Come On Feel the Noise" and "Mama We're All Crazy Now." Those were Slade songs. And again, I talked to Frankie Benelli, the drummer, and he was telling me, he says, "Let me tell you," he goes, "the funny thing with that is," he goes, "Quiet Right, we got the fame off of those songs, but Slade, which I believe had been disbanded by that point for many years, they were ones that were making all the money when with Quiet Right having a hit, but Slade, who originally recorded the songs, all of a sudden were just making a ton of money."
And I believe that Quiet Right did not want to do that song. I think the record label or the producers
kind of pushed them
wanted
into it,
to do "Come On Feel the Noise."
Yeah.
They didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And I think it was I don't know what documentary it was, but they said they were gonna like go in and butcher the song so they didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
And then I forget Boudreaux, the singer.
Yeah, Dubrow, Kevin Dubrow, yeah.
Dubrow, yeah, just killed it. And he said they were glaring at him from the booth because they didn't want to do the song, but he was doing it so well. That's actually, in fact, I was watching a lot of Quiet Riot last night.
Yeah.
Because I like the way that, not to be too 80s about it, and we're not trying to be dated, but
no.
I really like the way those bands, like we mentioned before, Motley Crue, Kiss, Van Halen, Quiet Riot, just the way, the energy that they brought to the stage. I like a football player would watch film. I like to watch those old concerts and just get ideas of how they move around and how they brought so much energy back then. And I want to bring that back a little bit.
Well, I think you're on a good start headed there. Now let me ask you, obviously a big part of what you guys are doing is the fact that you've hooked up with Mr. Brian Wheat. How did you guys initially hook up with him?
He wound up seeing a video. He was running a contest for his studio. He had a guy that he was working with, a film guy, and they wanted to bring in a band, and they wanted to have the band record 1, 2, 3 songs with Brian, and they wanted to film the entire process, then put it all together as a little series, which I believe is still online. It was called The Big Break Session. I believe it's still on YouTube.
I'll have to check that out. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So he was holding like this, I forget how many years ago this was, he was holding this like nationwide contest or a submission thing where all these bands were submitting. And our bass player, Jason, who's a huge Tesla fan, happened to see it, I believe, off Tesla's Facebook. I think they shared something about it. And he sent him one of the songs, a video, and we got a call back right away. And it was the guy, his partner he was working with, and they said, "Hey, Brian's really intrigued with what you guys got going on here with your suits and your, you're moving and this and that. We never really quite seen this before. What are you doing with it?" And at the time, it was only 3 of us.
Wow.
And they didn't choose us. We did not get chosen for it. They chose another band. And it was actually better in the end because they gave us a lot of the guy who was working with Ken at the time. He gave us a ton of pointers saying, "Look, I think I was the only guitar player at the time." They said, "Look, I think you need to get another guitar player, if not 2. I think you need to put the guitar down. You need to focus more, clean the image up a bit, get some nicer suits, get this and that." And we did, and we were kind of sending them stuff.
Wow.
Over the next year, just, "Hey, check this out. And finally, Tesla was playing in Saginaw, and he wound up calling me. I was at work, and he said, "Hey, you want to come out and talk possibly about the future and come see the show and stuff?" It was really a dream come true. So, and that was a few years ago. That was 2016, maybe 2017.
How cool is that? Like, and I'm assuming you were a bit of a Tesla fan already before.
Absolutely.
Wow. And Tesla, they're a great band too. That's one thing I've always loved about them. I mean, they do everything like we're talking about doing a song like Signs. They've done great cover tunes, like you said. They've covered everybody from Deep Purple to the Beatles. They have songs like Love Song. That's their big hit that they really became popular off. Heaven's Trail No Way Out. So again, they're one of those bands that kind of do it all, and I think that's a great type of guy to have in your corner to kind of show you the way.
It is absolutely. I mean, they're and one cool thing about Tesla is that they're not. As I've listened to I was a fan of their older, Modern Day Cowboy Love songs, one of my favorite songs of all time. But if you listen to their newer albums, they have continued to evolve too. They haven't just stuck to the same old thing.
Yeah.
They've done all kinds of songs, which I think is way cool.
And you know, I'm a guy that's been with them from the early days, like from the very first album, and I will tell you this, kind of like in '94 when they kind of disbanded and they went away for a couple of years. The album at the time it was out, it was kind of like an alternative type of album. It didn't really sell too well, but I'll tell you what, since they have come back, they came back actually bigger and badder than before and more successful. It just, and they never went away again.
It's funny because if you look at bands from their
era,
exactly, Tesla has this cult following, especially up here in this like Rust Belt Midwest, kind of like this like blue collar rock and roll.
Yeah.
And they actually just announced a show in Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
I think they played Grand Rapids and sold it out the last 2 years, and they're playing it again. They have such a, of all the bands from that era, they're still around, and they still draw. We went and seen them with Styx and Joan Jett at the DTE, which is our biggest venue, really, as far as big outdoor venue. Used to be called Pine Knob. And as we were walking around the little concourse area, every other shirt you seen was a Tesla shirt.
Oh, wow.
And obviously, you think Styx, but Tesla was the opener of 3 bands. Every shirt you seen was Tesla. They had this huge cult following up here, which is super cool.
Well, that's amazing. Now, you mentioned, Chase, that you're also a guitar player, and for a number of years you were only a guitar player. Now, like a lot of guys, I'm assuming you started out on the guitar and kind of became a singer out of necessity, or were you always a singer as well?
No, not at all. I did not want to be the singer. I thought, well, I'll be the singer until we can get another singer.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't quite find, I was having guys come over and stuff, and I was always kind of telling them, like, no, do it like this, do it like that. And one guy going, why didn't you just do it? If you would tell me how to do it, why don't you just do it? And I'm like, maybe I will. And I wanted to start playing shows. Yeah. And I figured that was, I couldn't find guys to practice all the time. I said, well, I'll do it for a while. We'll see what happens. And grew to like it, and did some lessons and stuff, and got a little bit better at a time. My speaking voice isn't naturally the prettiest thing to listen to.
Well, see, I think everybody has that kind of thought going in their head. Most people, even when they hear their, just like you said, their speaking voice, on tape, oh man, I hate that sound, but it takes a while to kind of get comfortable, I guess, with that.
It's funny because I don't like listening to my speaking voice. Yeah. Like we do interviews like this, and then I listen back to the interview. I don't like listening to my speaking voice. My singing voice I've become so accustomed to. And not that I love it, but it definitely takes some getting used to, and I feel like I sing more than I talk anymore. Well, so I become accustomed to it.
I can kind of relate. 'Cause I'll tell you a funny story about kind of what I do here. Is I remember when I first started doing these interviews, and like anything, the more you do it, the better you get. But back in the day, I used to kind of have my mind concept at the time was like, okay, I'm gonna have all my questions planned out. I'm gonna have them all written out, this and that. And when I would start listening back to this stuff, after a while, I realized, it almost kind of sounds programmed, robotic, and
scripted.
And it's much more. Sounds much more better when you listen back how we're kind of talking back and forth like this, kind of just having a conversation like two old friends or something like that, as opposed to something scripted, and that's what works better for me, anyways.
It's definitely that's definitely a gift as well, though. Not everybody can do that. Some people need to be more scripted, which a lot of times seems to come off a bit robotic. It definitely is a gift to be able to give interviews or do interviews and just be pretty much completely off the cuff, and to be able to have fun with them. And I don't ever prepare for them. And I actually forgot, because they told me about this interview 2 weeks ago. I almost forgot. I looked at the clock. Oh man, I looked at the calendar and said, I'm going to call in.
Yeah, whatever works for you, I guess. But like, how do you feel about that? I guess the band's finally starting to kind of make some noise in that, and so you're doing this these interviews and this press. So what's that like? I mean, it's kind of weird for you to be asked questions like this and think, man, people actually think or they care about what I think, or they're asking me what my opinion on this is.
Yeah, I am a natural talker, so
it seems like it. You seem very comfortable.
Yeah, whether we were doing an interview or whether you just wanted to call to talk about whatever, I'll talk to you about it. I like doing it. It's been such a natural progression.
Yeah.
Definitely to this point in time. Hopefully there becomes this huge overnight success. You know, we wind up on TV or something. But it's become such a natural progression that I've been doing more interviews.
Yeah.
Thanks to people like you, but I've kind of been doing them for about the past 10 years.
Oh, wow.
It feels like not as often as I have in this past year, but I've been doing them for a while, I'm kind of a person too where I always feel like I'm being interviewed. You know, people ask questions. I like that. I like talking with people. I like discussing things. So it feels natural to me. But no, I definitely. It's been amazing this past few months.
You know, Chase. The funny thing is, even though I know, like, you know, you're an American guy. I will tell you this. It's funny that you mentioned many of these bands. Like we're talking about, you know, Queen and Bad Company, Paul Rodgers, Def Leppard, to name a few. And I'll tell you, it's funny because when I was listening to some of your songs, it definitely have kind of like a British rock feel to it, oddly enough.
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of those. The funny thing for me is it's tough for me to tell.
Yeah, because
some of them you can tell. You know, if you listen to the radio, the accents and stuff really go away.
Yeah.
Through singing, which is funny. So I never quite think about that myself, but I think a lot of my favorite bands happen to be British. I think some of the best rock bands that came out of that time were British. You know, whether you're talking about Bad Company or Def Leppard or, you know, just a million of them. Judas Priest. Just so many of them were British, and they had definitely a bit of a different sound. And that's absolutely a compliment. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and you know, definitely one of my all-time favorite British bands would have to be Deep Purple. They're still, you know, not the original lineup, but they're still out there doing it, you know, 50 years later. And you know, that's one of those bands I point to when people tell me, you know, keyboards suck or they don't belong in music. I say, look at what John Lord did, the keyboard player did with Deep Purple. I mean, you would go see the band live back in the day, and they would be having like a major jam session. Like they'd be jamming on the same song, you know, for 30 minutes in concert between the bass player, the guitar player, and the keyboard player. It was just something to see.
One thing I like about Deep Purple is I just heard the live version of "Smoke on the Water" just 2 days ago. You know, every once in a while they'll play it on the radio, and the band has got such this, you know, heavy like that. Black Sabbath-y, industrial type sound to him, but yet his vocals are so almost operatic and so, you know, he's so clean with them when he wanted to be, or raspy when he wanted to be. He had such a different sound to his voice, such a pretty voice, and that's amazing that guys make that work, like Rob Halford did, or even Freddie Mercury and Queen. Just those guys that make that work. I'm always so impressed with that.
Now, getting back to you, Chase, so what was it like for you going, you know, from, you know, be primarily a guitar player all these years to kind of making that transition to the frontman and people kind of checking you out more for your singing than your guitar playing?
I liked it way more. A lot easier.
Yeah.
A lot less for me to do. You know, because now I used to have to, like, learn all the songs. Now I could just, like, I tell the guitar player, how you learn this song, you know, I don't got to worry about it. But no, it was way better because I got Connor, who is the lead guitar player in the band, is absolutely phenomenal. He does most of the leads. I mean, they kind of share rhythm and leads, and then Noah Schreiber plays guitar, and he also plays saxophone, but they're both two phenomenal guitar players. And no, it's nice. They take a lot of pressure off me, allows me to be much more of a front man. Which is, when you watch our stuff, that's what Brian thought I needed to be, and that's, in the end, as I did it more, I like it much more. It allows us to express the show a bit more, rather than being tethered to a guitar.
You know, I never met you face to face, but interesting thing just talking to you is you don't seem like you're much of a egomaniac. You know what I mean? Where and I make that point because like just again watching the videos and stuff, I was just enamored, impressed with the way you were moving around, you know, those videos and stuff, and it's funny to find out that, you know, like a lot of these guys over the years I've talked to, you started out as a guitar player, because I mean, watching those videos, you just look like such a natural frontman.
Well, I've always, within the band, I've always been a front man. I've never played in a band where I wasn't. Actually, this is the only band I've ever played in.
Yeah.
I still do play guitar at the live shows.
Yeah.
I will, and we do it interestingly. We'll make a live switch during a song.
Yeah.
Noah will give me the guitar. He'll pick up the saxophone. I'll give it back to him. We do all kinds of stuff. But the real tricky part is then when I get the guitar, maintaining that front man status, keeping the movement going. So that's a whole other element. But it's fun. I've practiced that for years. So no, it's to answer the question, I don't miss playing the guitar a ton.
And the other point I was making about kind of like, not just you, but people in general, with in reference to the ego, is, like I said, you're just such a natural watching these videos and stuff, the way you perform. And did you ever kind of think people would be coming to, see you play in a band and kind of you'd be the guy that, the guy they were coming to see, where all eyes were kind of on you?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I live my whole life like that. Everything I do is
full on.
Everything I do is out front and center, and I got to be different with everything. And I feel like that was my true. I feel like I'm a natural entertainer.
Yeah.
With everything. Just I like to make people laugh or cry or feel something, rock, whatever.
Yeah.
But I always feel like I really do that was a calling of mine. So hopefully it is.
Yeah,
we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. But you're definitely on to a good start. Now let me ask you, recording wise, like were you guys did you do the old school way where you're actually, because you said Brian has a studio but you were working out, did you guys actually go to the same studio? Were you all in the same room doing it together? No. We're very, very modern recording process. So they would send me in to do a scratch track, acoustic guitar and vocals. We'd lay that down to a click, and then we'd send the drummer in, Matt. Yeah.
And luckily, we got a very good drummer. Really, a band's recording process is going to go up by how well, I think, anyways, by how good their drummer is. That's just such a big thing, and vocals as well. So if you got those two things, and he's such a solid drummer, he lays it down, and then we'll lay some guitar, stack some bass on top of it, some auxiliary stuff, then lay the vocals on top of it. But everybody does it different. I still know of bands to this day that go into a live room and jam out, and that's to each their own. Some bands still don't play to a click or record to a click, which I think is insane to me. But go for it if you could do it.
And so
more power to you.
Again, talk a little bit about from like you're saying you're a bit of a Tesla fan. So once you start working with Brian and you go into the studio and stuff, I mean, I'm sure you're quite the professional yourself, but what was that process like? Like going from kind of being a fan of this guy to you're actually in his recording studio working with him.
He made it a very easy transition. He's a pretty fun guy. It never felt like a boss relationship or anything like that. No, he's fun. He's always having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Very business-like when we got down to it, but it was weird, somebody that
you grew up
was in a band, obviously, that you idolized for years.
Yeah.
And then, a couple months later, I'm taking him to the McDonald's drive-thru to get a Diet Coke. It was a bit of a funny, not a funny transition. He made it very easy, but it definitely is, it's different when you meet people like him and when you've seen him on TV and heard him on the radio, magazines, whatever, for so many years, and then you do hang out with them and you do realize that these are just
human beings, as they say, and it's got to be a great.
Yeah, they really are, and obviously musicians are different. They're very they're emotional, and they're obviously a bit odd, and they think a little bit differently. But at the end of the day, they absolutely are just real people, which is it's funny to not only realize, but not only to say, but to actually realize, to get to hang out with. And all the guys from Tesla are absolutely.
And it's got to make it that much better when you meet the guy and he's not a total a-hole. It just just turns out to be a nice guy.
Yeah, he's because with some of the stuff with the sessions that he had with the band, the videos that we watched, I didn't know what he was quite going to be like.
Yeah.
Because he's very particular, and he gets in, he knows what he wants. He's pretty businesslike when he gets in there. He's got an idea, and he's ready to roll with it. So I didn't know what he was going to be like. I really did not. And now we have a great relationship with Brian. I was pleasantly surprised.
And so as far as Chase, Engel, and the Night Shift, let me ask you, How long have you guys been together as a band?
Me and the drummer have been together almost 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And, I was only like 18 or so when he joined.
Wow.
And, and then Jason, the bass player, about 7 years. And Connor, the lead guitar player, I think he's coming up on almost 3 years now. And then Noah's the newer guy coming up on 2 years.
Wow.
So, the funny thing is, it really doesn't feel like, even though Noah's the newest member at only 2 years, it doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like he's been in the band for 10 years.
This is not like an overnight sensation thing. It's kind of it's been building up to this point, the last 10 years, and that's got to be a great feeling that after 10 years, you're starting to make a little bit of noise here.
It is. It's such a gradual process, though, that it's tough to really get it. I mean, if they called me today and said, "Hey, you're going on, a world tour with AC/DC or something," I'd be like, "Whoa," it'd be shocking. But it's such a gradual process. Like even the shows that we're doing with Buckcherry, which if you'd have told me that a year ago,
like, no way.
I'd been blown away. But it's like it's such a gradual process. It almost everything you get, you're almost like, okay, finally, you feel like you're finally getting there. Nothing happens overnight, but which is good. Teaches you,
And it would be nice if it did, but thank God it didn't in a way, because a lot of those bands that did have that overnight success, it came and went.
It absolutely does. I think you can. I think there are a lot of downfalls that can come from that. I really do. I think there are many downfalls. I think you can lose who you are. I don't know. I mean, hey, it's never happened to me, so
Well, wait and see. The jury's still out, right?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't turn down the phone call tomorrow if it happened.
But
I think that I think the gradual process helps prepare you more. And I always told these guys, good Lord willing, it will happen one day, and when it does, you'll appreciate it that much more.
Well, I got years. I got to tell you, Chase. In addition to Mr. Brian Wheat, another great guy you have on your side is your publicist, Chip. For anybody who doesn't know, he's one of the big time rock publicists, and he's helped me get a lot of great interviews like this, over the years, and he's worked with everybody. I mean, like right now. You mentioned Judas Priest. You got the same publicist as Judas Priest and Michael Schenker, so you're in good hands.
Chip's fantastic. I mean, not only does he help us with the publicist side of things, but he's helped us with so much more. I couldn't even explain. He's a guy that he's really got his eye on the pulse. I mean, and it's funny. He's got a huge roster of people he works with, and some of them are like just legendary artists. Some of them are making great comebacks. So he has that ability to kind of see bands that have that potential or that staying power. The awesome thing with Chip too is he's been not only a publicist, but he's been a bit of a mentor as well, because when certain things happen, I have to ask, hey,
what should we do here?
What do you think about this? And what do you think about that? I asked Brian certain things, I asked him certain things, and he's been such a good, like a counselor for me, even. Helps calm me down for certain things, like, hey, and it really helps us out with a ton of different things. And Chip's been fantastic.
And before we wrap this up, because I know you're busy, let me ask you, Chase, what has that kind of transition been like? Go from being a band that's kind of a struggling band the last 10 years, to all of a sudden all this great stuff is happening. Because it's got to be a unique feeling. One day you wake up and you're getting all these hits on the Facebook, all these hits on YouTube. It's like, wow, somebody's actually listening to my music now.
No, it's been fantastic. It really has. Just some of the people that we've been able to be in contact with, such as yourself, just that more than anything right now. I mean, the record is just starting to take off a little bit. The attention's there, but obviously it hasn't blown up. We're hoping it does. But just the exposure that we've had to, just the fact that I've gotten to meet all the guys from Tesla. I got to hang out backstage with Brian at a Def Leppard Tesla concert. Just things like that have been
like a dream come true.
A dream come true.
Wow, and just talk about the power of internet for a minute. I mean, just give you this to think about. I mean, I'm sure you get letters and you get fan mail from people to your Facebook page and stuff like that every day from parts of the world that the band hasn't even been played in or stepped in yet. It's got to be a great feeling to think, man, some place in this country halfway around the world where I haven't even stepped foot in, my band hasn't even played. somebody's checking our music out. Just think about that for a minute. Where a couple years back, you know, that wouldn't have been possible.
We've had messages from people in Australia. We've had messages from people in Japan, from South America, from England. Yeah, that's definitely a different sort of, because through Spotify you can see where people have listened to your stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's amazing. It's in Russia. I mean, it's amazing to see that. So.
Yeah, and final question here before we let you go, Chase. So, as far as your EP, is it right now? Can people like get actual physical copies, or is it just a digital release, or how can people find out about that?
You know, if you go to our website, chaseengleandthenightshift.com, there is a store on there that you can get a physical copy, or on all the outlets. I'm sure if you search it, iTunes, Apple Music, I'm not sure the list of them. I'm sure it's longer than I could even list.
Definitely, if they go to your official webpage, they can get one off of there.
Yeah, I always say, look, if you really want to find it, you can find it. If you can't, hey, message me. I'll find it for you. So it's out there somewhere.
There you go. And, you know, final thing before we wrap this up, because I tell you, I'm a bit of a Tesla fan myself. Tesla-related story here. I don't know if you're aware of this, but a couple years back, Tesla put out, like, a great covers record. It was, like, 2 volumes, okay? And you could buy, actually, the first volume one you could buy in, like...
Reel to reel?
Reel to reel. You could buy back in the day, like in Best Buy and places like that, or even on Amazon. You still can if you go to Amazon. But if you wanted to get Volume 2, you'd have to go see the band in concert, and as you show your ticket at the door and walk in the concert hall, they'd give you Volume 2 at the door. I thought, what a cool way to get people to come to the live show, you know?
I love things like that. Yeah. You know, being able to, and it creates a bit of an exclusiveness.
That's what I loved about it too.
That's a word. Yeah, it's for the true fans.
Yeah,
you gotta come see us to get it, and especially for a band that's older like that. I think a lot of people from that era, from the album era, appreciate still getting physical copies.
Oh yeah, I definitely do. I'm an old school guy, and you know the cool thing about that at the time, like you said, it was an exclusive. Like you could only get it if you went to the. Now you can get it like on Amazon, but back in the day, that's what made it such a cool like collector's thing. Is nobody could get it unless they went to the concert.
Yeah, that's great. I wish more bands did stuff like that all the time. Hopefully, I get to the point where I can do stuff like that. You can only get it if you come see me. So.
Well, I will tell you, Mr. Chase Engel, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and you definitely do have a huge new fan in me. So anything I can do to help spread the word about you guys, or spread the love, as they say, I'm more than happy to do so. Anytime like you guys release a new single or anything, or you just want to promote what you got going, please feel free to reach out to me through Chip, or just keep my number here, and I'd be more than happy to do it, because that's what I like to do, is keep in touch with people, and I don't want to just do the one interview, but we'll follow up with you, and whatever you got to promote, we're more than happy to do that for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the interview, sir.
Okay, well, like I said, it'll go